What's happening, Don? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good, good. Stoked to be back with another episode. And I see you've upped your game on the microphone. That is an impressive piece of equipment.
Bro, we are moving up in the world.
Yes, is that YouTube money is just rolling in.
Rolling in, bro. Lockdown's
Nice.
having no effect on this online economy.
Yeah, it's not stopping us from going. All right, Don, I like it. You sound nice and crisp. Welcome to the professional world of podcasting.
Yeah, good to be here.
All right, Don. So 249's happening. We see that Rose has unfortunately pulled out. We can only speculate. I haven't heard anything official. Have you?
No official word on why. Really disappointing. Yeah, who knows? If it's an injury, you think they kind of say she might just be
Right.
thinking this has all been too much, but we don't know.
For sure. I mean, I remember seems to be, from what like portrayed in the media, that she's quite an emotional person. From when that attack happened on the bus with Connor, she was on that bus with Khabib, and it seemed, I think she spoke quite openly about it, and so did her husband Pat, like how that affected her emotionally. So maybe this whole thing with Corona, she doesn't feel safe. There's not enough details. So yeah, we could just speculate, but bottom line is it's unfortunate that we're not getting to see that fight.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because also she's such a good fighter. She's amongst the best fighters in the world. And I think after the last fight with Andrade and the way it ended, I think she was seriously thinking about not fighting anymore. So one hopes that this isn't her going back into that kind of thinking of this is all just too crazy. But yeah, I mean, you can't really blame anyone if they are saying, look, I can't fight at this stage, not knowing where it is, not knowing what risks I'm taking.
100%. Yeah, it's a lot to ask.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then I know we both went back and watched a couple of fights. We watched Tony Ferguson versus, help me, it just slipped my mind.
Anthony Pettis.
Anthony Pettis, that's it. And then Gaethje versus Edson Barboza.
Yeah.
Both like super impressive fights. One of the things that just jumped out of me at the Ferguson fight and Pettis was the pressure that Tony keeps coming forward, and just jab, and, hook to the body. And it's just this constant pressure. That really stood out to me. And another thing that stood out to me is when he got rocked, he just flows with it. He'd get rocked. He fell on his ass and he rolled and he landed up getting Pettis in an ashigarami.
Yeah.
Like, this Loki is on another level. He doesn't get rocked and just like lie there. He's rolling into an ashi.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I also picked that up. I mean, he gets rocked twice, I think in the first round, or it was the first or the second, but he gets rocked and before he rolls and then gets this ashi on Pettis and like is looking for a footlock. He actually springs up the first time he gets rocked and he springs up into a spinning elbow, like immediately. Then he gets rocked again, rolls, ashigarami, then close guard, controlling Pettis's posture and nullifying him. This is all after being rocked twice. And it's in that close guard that he cuts Pettis badly with his elbow. Yes. So he's getting rocked one moment. While he's getting rocked, he's setting up attacks. He's a total freak.
Savage. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy. He just keeps moving. His flow, his movement, it's just incredible. Like, I mean, it was a really great fight. And I think that was the first fight back from his like world-class, world-fast recovery to his knee surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, Pettis was laying in some kicks.
Yeah. So they were saying, the commentators were saying it was 6 months after his knee injury. And they were just saying that like Dominic Cruz, who's obviously had a lot of knee injuries and a lot of surgeries, was just saying it's so quick. It's like incredibly fast. And then one of the other commentators said to Cruz, he did all his own rehab. Like, he didn't have professional help with his rehab. And Cruz just goes, well, I don't have anything to say about that. Because I think he's just like, how is that possible? Yeah, he comes out and he fights like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I saw, was it Breck Okamoto posted a little Instagram post the other day when he watched Tony Ferguson was strapping up to get ready to spar or something. And he was just elbowing or forearming a steel pole for 15 minutes. He was just sitting there, just,
Yeah.
it's just like the guy just does such unconventional stuff, but I love it.
I
That's
love
what
it,
makes him
man.
so interesting.
He's
I
so good.
mean, so yeah, and then we watched the Gaethje and Barboza fight, which was, man,
Yeah.
Gaethje hits, as he said in an interview recently, like a Mack truck. Like he's a lights out puncher,
Yeah.
and I think that's his threat to Tony, because I don't think Pettis has the power that Gaethje has. I mean, so if Gaethje catches him with one of those shots, you know, can he roll into an Ashley, or was he just going to be out cold?
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. I mean, one of the things that's fascinating about the Gaethje Ferguson fight is Gaethje, as you say, he's a knockout artist, but then he's got amazing wrestling, which he basically never uses. Tony has never been knocked out. I mean, he hasn't lost in 8 years, but he's never been knocked out.
Right.
So, you know, it's like the immovable force meets the unstoppable force meets the
Force.
immovable object.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
What was interesting about the Gaethje fight with Barboza is Gaethje doesn't want to take him down, even though Barboza is so amazing on the feet. He comes out very kind of thoughtful, and he immediately throws 3 leg kicks. So he's not thinking about striking; he's thinking about taking out the leg immediately. He's not thinking about punching. Now the Pettis fight, Pettis does the same thing against Ferguson. He comes out and he starts hitting leg kicks, and they look like they are impacting Ferguson. And then Ferguson is just so in control of the cage after that that the leg kicks were out of the question. But it'd be interesting to see if Gaethje comes out, goes for Ferguson's legs. But yeah, there's a moment. It's only a 2.5 minute fight, the Gaethje Barboza fight. But there's a moment where he kind of half shoots, and then he's kind of got his. He might even have like a full body lock on him, and he lets go of it and comes up and throws a hook.
Yes.
So he's really a guy he wants to strike no matter what.
I mean, I think he's so confident in his power. You know,
Yeah.
he knows if he can land, he's going to knock you out. He's also really good, and I think this is how he finished the fight with Barboza. Is that like in close, like boxing? You know, he almost had a necktie on Barboza, and then threw that hard, like in close. You know, he doesn't need a lot of build up. It's just these like really close, hard hooks with all the, you know, the weight and the hips into it.
And Ferguson's going to give you that opportunity. Gaethje's going to hit Ferguson. It's just, I suppose it comes down to a question of, we know how both of the guys will fight. We don't know if Ferguson is going to withstand the shots enough to wear Gaethje out.
Yes.
But we do know that he's withstood everyone's shots he's ever fought, you know, to date.
Yeah. But what does worry me in a sense is how often we have seen Ferguson get rocked. Like most of his fights, for the most part, are kind of like wars in a sense, but he's always 1 or 2 steps ahead in those wars. I mean, I remember that fight you really enjoyed it with, was it with Lando
Vannata, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tony was getting rocked, but he just kept on coming forward, you know, and like, this is the question now, is he going to be able to take that power from Gaethje and get rocked constantly, you know?
Yeah.
But man, it's playing out. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight.
Right. So just let's hope none of the other cards or the other fighters on the cards fall out. I really want to see this Nagano and Riznik. I'm not sure how you pronounce it exactly. And then the Uriah and Jacare are my next most looking forward to fight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it about Rose. I'm just hoping that they just look at a way of rescheduling it once the restrictions are a bit less intense.
Yeah, for sure. So just remind me again what your predictions are for this fight.
Yeah, I've got Tony, I've got Ngannou, and I've got Uriah Hall. But I said with Ngannou, like it's whoever lands first, basically.
It's whoever lands. Yeah, I like that. I can see that in a quote somewhere. Whoever lands, Daniel Lindy, co-host of the MMA Lockdown podcast.
Yeah, good.
But with a bit more detail on the main event, like how do you see it being kind of a 5-round war? Do you see maybe Tony finishing early in a submission? Like, what are you more detail on your thoughts?
Yeah. So again, like I think it's if Tony wins, which is where I would hedge my bet. It's a TKO similar to what happened with Pettis. Okay, Pettis broke his hand, but Pettis was getting worn down.
It was withering.
Yeah, same thing with Cowboy. Okay, it's actually quite funny. Like the last two Tony Ferguson fights, like broken hand, Cowboy blows his nose, blows up his eye. But these guys are just getting like worn down, beaten up. I think something similar happens. So I think either he wins on a 5-round beatdown, or the fight, or he wins a TKO with the referee stoppage. So yeah, I mean, unless the fight goes to ground, you might catch him in something, but I don't think anyone's going to ground here.
Yeah, for sure. No, I tend to agree with that. That's how I'd see it going. I mean, Gaethje's cardio is phenomenal. We've seen it, but like Tony is just on another level cardio wise, and also just his full like set of skills, and like the way he brings that together in an MMA fight is just, it's impressive. It's just, can he withstand that power from Gaethje?
Yeah, and Gaethje has always been very serious about he needs like 8 weeks of training. He often speaks about it. He's like, I'll fight anyone, just give me the time and give me the date and give me enough time to prepare.
Yes, great point.
So yeah, I mean, he has said himself, like I think he said he thinks he's got 18 minutes of hell in him. That's quite a lot on a short training camp when you're going against Tony Ferguson, because it's 18 minutes of constant pressure. So he's seeing himself going almost 4 rounds. I think, like, realistically, he might fade after 2.5, 3, if he himself is acknowledging like he's not where he would ideally want to be. And then you've got Tony Ferguson, who's going to be super fit, like he always is, like that freak cardio. As you said on our last episode, there's something about his mind that's just different. So the longer it goes, the worse for Gaethje. Maybe he just comes out swinging for the fences like pre-UFC Gaethje, where he hadn't really refined himself so much.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, that's what he said in an interview. I mean, he knows that he's getting Tony, who's been training for not only a title fight, but to take on Khabib, undefeated fighter. So, like, this is as, well-oiled as Tony's going to be for a fight.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, let's see. I mean, we also don't know how much Gaethje's been training. I mean, he could have been still on 2-a-day, 3-a-day sessions. So, but either way, he's going to be behind in the training and in the gas tank department. So, as you say, if he's going to finish him, it has to be, I think, within 2.5 rounds.
Yeah.
Awesome, Don. Enjoyed that chat. Enjoyed analyzing some fights. I think we should do that more. Maybe go back in time, watch a few old school fights. I don't know if you've been seeing these series that UFC been putting out on like Coleman and a few of these other old school Hall of Famers, Mark Coleman.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, you should go check it out. They go back in time and they showed a few highlights from Pride. And it was just so cool watching those fights. I would dig to go back, watch more fights from Pride. Old Vanderlei, Don Fry. It was, I love those fights.
Yeah, I dig
go
to
back
do
and
that.
watch them.
I saw an old Nick Diaz fight where he wins by Gogo Plata the other day. And you just think like, wow, that shit just is so rare. And to just watch how he set it up, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we can do that. And then, we've looked today at like both Tony and Gaethje's second most recent fights. And then they both faced Donald Cerrone as their most recent fights.
Yes.
So it'd be interesting to have a look at that too, how they approach Cerrone respectively and what that might mean for this fight.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. Awesome, Don.
Sweet jazz.
Another good episode in the books, and we'll chat to you soon.
Us.
Us.